One thing is for certain, the national debt will continue to rise, especially given the nature of our politics these days. Politicians, they just want to keep spending more and more. But there is hope. There is something on the horizon. And I think that's part of what the message that the debt clock people are sending us now. The latest message from the debt clock people as we explore. We continue to watch these numbers climb at an alarming rate. $34 trillion. It's unfathomable. The debt per taxpayer is $264,090. That's just under the average cost for a home in the United States of America. It's crazy. In fact, we look at the debt to GDP ratio, it's at 122.31. It was only higher in World War II, where it was about 129%. So that's the federal debt to GDP ratio. Now, there's a lot of revenue that's being collected by the federal government for sure, but not nearly enough to keep up with the debt, and deficit spending is continuing to climb, and that's what's causing the debt to continue to rise. And we look at all of this, and we see all of the other things, such as the interest on the debt, continue to grow. Well, it's only a matter of time before this thing has got to change. Something's got to give here. And there's been messages that have been sent out that certainly give us some excitement, but all of these numbers, well, they do make us feel rather blue. That was an accident, by the way. I guess I was trying to click on something and it highlighted everything. Nonetheless, it is a blue time for sure. But let's take a look at the latest debt clock. We're going to zoom out on this thing and take a look and see what we've got here. We have a message from the debt clock people. A new world is coming. Now, this can be interpreted in a couple of different ways. And we're going to talk about the first way that this can be interpreted. The person who let me know about this sign up, about these messages, who inspired me to create these videos, believes there's going to be some sort of Gesera type situation. You know, some sort of a whole new reset where everything goes back to a gold standard and to this debt-free currency that we've seen highlighted multiple times. And he thinks, and others as well, think that that is coming, and that's what's going to go. We're going to go straight to some sort of bimetallic or gold standard. That's possible, but I don't think they're going to let go that easy. I think that they're going to do a central bank digital currency. There may be a great revaluation that comes, and that would be potentially good for gold and silver. But nonetheless, I think that before we get to the ultimate end, which is a gold-backed currency or a commodities-backed currency, something that restrains the spending and the creation of money. I think they're going to have one more trick pulled up their sleeve, and that is a central bank digital currency. They've already got the groundwork in place for that, but there are people who strongly believe, but we'll never get there because the system is going to collapse before that happens. And some may interpret this message as meaning that there's a new world coming where we'll be forced into a gold standard. And I know that's been a talk about it too, and that is a possibility. I want to be open-minded because we never really know what's coming. In this world we live in today, things are happening at an accelerated rate. And there's a number of different things that could happen that could cause, an essential collapse or an implosion of the economy. Maybe even the idea of fiat currencies, even around the world. We're already seeing BRICS nations around the world move more towards, some sort of commodity-backed system, even a gold-backed currency in and of itself, or using gold to back up their own currencies. They're still ways off from that. That's just what's been talked about. But let's take a look at this message here. There's a new world coming. And I believe that is true. If you look at the Bible, in fact, it will involve us. For those of us who have faith in God, and we have the scripture that says here, he that believeth in me, I assume this is the King James Version. The works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do. Indeed, we've seen that in the book of Acts, and it's something that very well could be, but it means believing and loving God, and first and foremost. So if there's a new world coming and we're going to be a part of it, in order for it to take place, we must have pure hearts and really look to him. He is the central foundation, and I think that has been a consistent message that has been sent by the debt clock people for sure. And Jesus is at the center of all this, as we can see with the Ichthus sign there, and then the star shining brightly in the background with the multiple colors behind it, maybe even representing the rainbow, the promise that God would never again flood the earth. We can see that the earth there is surrounded by a white atmosphere, and then blue, and then above it is the heavens, presumably the heavens above, in this new stylized version here with this infographic. And we can see, if we zoom in a little bit to get a better angle and a better view of this infographic, we can see the earth there, which is common. We've seen this before. Some of these elements are being pulled together for the first time, but we can see the earth there, and then the United States of America, the 50 continental the states in the continental U.S. there, with all of the cities there lighted up as stars and connected. You can even see the connections there, presumably of roads, and maybe that could also represent a cluster of constellations arranged in such a way. If you know those shapes of the constellations, you might be able to find something there. Maybe it's Virgo, and we've seen the one with Jupiter, but Jupiter is not to be found here. But there's something different about this. We now see what appears to be either a portal or a door or a window, and opened with a golden cross and a silver X. Could that mean gold and silver? I don't know. But you see the four angels that are on the four corners of the map of the United States, with coming out of the window, perhaps coming out right there to help usher in maybe this new world is coming. And then it harkens back to the past, where we can see here resting upon the foundation of Christopher Columbus, who was a man of God there, and his discovery. We've seen this image in a prior message that the debt clock people have sent with us, and we can see that there is a circular or a brown circle there, presumably representing finding new ground, finding the new world. Thought maybe he would find the West Indies, or East Indies, but instead he found indeed Hispaniola is the island he found there, and that was the West Indies. And we also see there that he discovered essentially this new world, and from which we are now a part. And look at the big change that we've seen around the whole world because of what Christopher Columbus has done. Like it or not, Christopher Columbus's voyage to the New World has done more to greater, has an effect, a chain reaction, to make the world a better place because of Western civilization. There's no question about that, by any measure. And the United States has played a huge role, certainly, in bettering the whole world. And so when we see this, and we see what's happening in this verse, it really boils down to, what you believe, obviously. These are the words of Jesus, obviously. And this is from the vantage point of a Christian, and these messages, very strong messages throughout. You'll notice this one is not signed Thomas X, like the others have been. That's quite intriguing, which makes me think that maybe the Thomas X is not its signature, but maybe a reference to something else, unless maybe perhaps they forgot to sign it. Now, there may be other things that I've missed, like I've missed in some of the other interpretations, some of the other graphics. But one thing I do note here that is quite intriguing is the stylized curves here that lead up to heaven. Presumably, it's like the atmosphere goes up into the stratosphere, which makes it as part of the heavens there, heavens opening up upon earth. And maybe that is what that is translated as being. The heavens open up and upon the earth and the United States as a part of it. We can see this sort of a bright, this yellowish hue around the United States to kind of emphasize it, but also show that it's kind of the golden light. And maybe the gold would be part of this new system. And you notice that it doesn't have the debt-free currency here anywhere on this. I think it's more of a spiritual message, as we can see here, that the window of God, maybe, perhaps if that's what that is, that has a golden glow around it as well. And then the panes opened up, and then the angels coming out. You'll notice, too, that the window does extend down below the circumference of the earth here into the past. And I think that's what that is, quite intriguing and interesting that they extend the window to the past, because the window of the past and how important God was to a lot of the early founders and discoverers of America through the founding of this country, how important of a role God played. So we look at the windows of the past in order to get a glimpse into the future. And if God is a part of it, then it's going to be a good thing. No matter what, for each individual, it's a good thing. If you know Jesus, yes, indeed. So let me know what your interpretation of this message is. Maybe you have something completely different. I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.